Meccano, part number 19B, 3-inch pulley. From the 1920s, with a road tyre attached. It even says Dunlop. Hi and welcome back. Me and my grand ideas are probably the biggest single weakness in my life. After all, there is an old saying, if you want to see a fool, look in the mirror. So I was looking through the manual for 1937 and came across this footbridge model. And it piques my interest, so here I am now writing a script about footbridges. Why on earth did I choose this model? There's a nice submarine to make. There's loads of information on submarines that I can write about for ages. But no, I have to choose the footbridge. Okay, I can do this. It's only around the 2,000 words mark. But that's one of the problems with doing this channel. Everything has a starting point. Some things are so lost in time that the beginnings has no point to start from. These things are just there, they exist, but their very beginning has been long lost. Others are hidden in knowledge that you can spend a lifetime searching through to find a lost treasure. Some things are so amazing, but their origin is seemingly so simple that there is nothing to it. It's almost, this thing happened, it's awe-inspiring, but that's all we know about it. Others are more mundane. These things are so well documented that there's a great research to weave a script from. And then there's today's task, this model. And as I start to write this, Boots, one of my cats, is sat behind my computer screen in the cat bed. He's washing himself. And at the same time, he's rocking the screen back and forth, creating a wonderful motion sickness effect. I also wonder if it's time to get up and go make a cup of tea. I do this each hour to enforce some movement and exercise. Okay, enough procrastination. The footbridge. Or more to the point, what was this model designed for? Meccano was, first and foremost, a toy. Frank Hornby was a businessman, and his goal was to make a saleable item and brand to appeal not only to children, but to the purse holders as well, the adults. He tapped into the very lucrative market of educational toys as the focus for Meccano. But many of his other toys were not educational, they were just toys, but were branded under different names, such as Hornby and Dinky. This model is, in my opinion, a toy. It is designed to operate alongside either Dinky or Hornby, hence why it's shown with Dinky cars in the picture. But also at the time, Meccano was being used as an architectural building tool as well. But that was short-lived as other building methods came onto the market, from Baco and Triang in the UK, and of course the true master of construction, Lego. But in the early 1940s, Meccano still ruled the roost, while its position at the top was already being challenged by other companies. I believe that Meccano failed to realise the impact of its rivals. The rise of Lego was challenged by Meccano with their own system, Clicker. But it was short-lived and failed to capture the imagination of children in the way that Lego achieved. To be honest, as a child, of the two toys, Lego was my go-to option over Meccano. It's only as an adult that I've come to enjoy Meccano. But in the 1940s, the explosion that would happen with the revolution of injected plastic was still to come. And Meccano's status in the marketplace must have looked good to the directors of the company. And this model serves its purpose. You can drive your cars underneath it. It would fit Hornby 00 gauge trains from the period, but not O gauge. And also, it provides that vanishing point for the mind's eye. After all, if you've ever had a model railway, you will know there's nothing nicer than watching the train disappear into the tunnel, even if in reality you try to avoid digging tunnels when building railways. It doesn't need to make sense, it just needs to look nice. That is one of the joys of being a child. We walk over footbridges regularly, even when we don't realise that we are. But have you ever wondered when they date back to? What's the oldest bridge? What's the oldest recorded footbridge? What are the different types of footbridges? And who holds the world records for the longest footbridge? The history behind footbridges is one of those aforementioned lost history items. They just are there as part of our daily lives, with about as much thought as I give to tea bags after I've just made a fresh mug of tea, which out of interest I just have. Without a doubt, the first footbridges were tree trunks across streams. Larger rivers you would have been wading, unless there was a natural ford to use. Man-made causeways came much later. The earliest forms of footbridges were constructed by Neolithic people and were either boardwalks or stepping stones placed in a waterway to allow transit from one side to another. Two examples of these Neolithic trackways can be seen in Somerset, Britain, dating back to around 4000 BC. The oldest man-made bridge that's still in existence is in Turkey, and it spans the river Mills in Izmir. Built in 850 BC when the area was an ancient Greek city called Smyrna. The bridge holds the record of being both the oldest standing bridge as well as the oldest man-made structure still in use. But it's not a footbridge. The record for the oldest footbridge that we have written proof of goes to Italy and was constructed by the Romans in 62 BC, crossing the river Tiber in Rome, according to the Roman historian Dio Cassius, and was constructed to replace an earlier wooden structure that had been damaged by fire. So, what are the different types of footbridge? There are roughly 9 different types, and they break down as follows: beam bridge, boardwalk, clapper bridge, duckboards, moon bridge, simple suspension bridge, simple truss, stepping stones, and the zigzag bridge. Some bridges are found only in certain parts of the world, like the moon bridge, that is Chinese in origin, but later was copied in Japan. The zigzag bridge is most commonly found in the Far East. Clapper bridges can be seen anywhere where there's large flat stones, but are most common in Great Britain. Footbridges are built from one of 3 basic components: timber, steel, concrete, or of course in history stone or brick. The design of them differs little from the larger bridges designed to take vehicle traffic, apart from one major difference. Footbridges are more susceptible to vibration caused by traffic. A well-documented example of this is the Millennium Bridge in London. As we walk, our body naturally sways from side to side. This motion is transferred to the bridge, which in turn begins to sway, in what's called a positive feedback phenomenon. This phenomenon is well known, but unexpected when the bridge was designed. In the case of the Millennium Bridge, its movement side to side was around 70 millimetres, or nearly 3 inches. With the bridge having 90,000 visitors on the first day, and with up to around 2,000 on the bridge at any time, the movement was very noticeable. Also, once the movement has begun, it will not cease until the bridge is empty of traffic. The record for the longest footbridge goes to the Americans, and I'm going to mention 2 bridges here. The Poughkeepsie Bridge is a former railroad bridge that was repurposed and reopened in 2009 as a public walkway over the Hudson River. The original bridge was opened in 1889 and was condemned for rail transport in 1974 due to fire damage. It held the record until 2016, until the Wild Animal Sanctuary in Colorado built a longer bridge over the sanctuary to allow viewing. And why have I just had a Jurassic Park-like image in my head of families looking down at the lions until, enter plotline, unlikely plucky British hero saves people while drinking tea and eating cucumber sandwiches and explaining the rules of cricket in a way that people understand. I'm available for the role, just saying. Bridges have played such an important part in our history, not just from an engineering point of view, but also from a cultural point of view. Not far from where I live, Warnley Burn threads its way down the valley side to Allen's Ford, a natural ford that crosses the River Derwent. Now long out of use as the A68 road bridge takes the daily thunder of traffic. The burn, near the end of its journey, cascades over a waterfall into a small pool, to run down under what I can only describe as being a troll bridge. It's a perfect troll bridge. Only wide enough for one person at a time. It follows a trail that heads up into the wooded area. And as you leave the bustle of traffic noises behind, you're faced with an idyllic section of hidden countryside. You can almost imagine that the woods conceal goblins and elves, that the hidden world of the Fae really exists here. My childhood was spent in long, hot, perfect summers exploring this area. The abandoned villages that lie along this river where settlements have long since vanished, as the silver mines dried up and work went elsewhere. But this bridge remains, showing a trackway that leads to one of these settlements, the remains of the water wheel pit being one of the few bits of evidence left to show you what once was. The regular mounds in the ground showing where houses were. And for the foolhardy, the mine entrances are there, if you're fool enough to go and explore.